Hello and welcome to Ex-Witness Awake. I'm your host, Jonathan. I hope that you are doing well today. Cleaning in the gym that I tend to record at sometimes. Today I'm going to talk to parents. But first, let's run the introduction. So there you go. Okay, I'm not feeling particularly jokey today. Guess I should have took my meds. I don't know. Maybe it's whatever. Okay, I'm not feeling particularly jokey today. I was just thinking about the impact that the organization has on children and on the parents that they become. So it's a well-known fact that as a little kid born into the organization, that you are expected to sit there and learn. You're expected to be quiet. You're expected to take notes if you can. Whether it be something simple like making tick marks every time they say Jehovah or they say Jesus or whatever. But you are expected to sit there and learn and be respectful and not squirm. Well, it's not a really realistic expectation to expect kids to sit there. And I got to thinking about it. How many times would parents take their kids to the back? You would see, a little commotion and an angry mom or an angry dad, and they're just like, come on. And they'd go to the back room and you hear SWAT. And you'd hear some crying, and then after a few minutes they come back out and they're just little attentive kids who are sitting there and trying their best not to get into trouble. Sometimes it would happen at the hall, as I described. Other times it would happen at home, so you'd get a look like, when we get home, you are in so much trouble. Now, I'm trying to think back to my own youth. Did that happen to me? I think so. Some things are kind of hazy. I don't really recollect everything. I mean, I probably got away with more than some. But, there was times when I was told to be quiet. Same would happen with my sisters when they were going. And I think about, how realistic is it to expect kids to not wiggle, not to make noise, not to do something? It's not very realistic at all. They're going to do that sort of thing. But I think now of myself as a parent, as a father, I have a 5-year-old who is autistic and has all kinds of energy and is practically bouncing off the walls and throwing things to the ground, and just he's an amazing smart kid, but he's hyperactive as all get out. And sometimes I get really frustrated. And I lose sight of the fact that he's just being a kid, and he has those issues on top of it. But I still get mad at him sometimes. I mean, I'm not one to, I don't swat kids or anything like that. That's just not me. But I do get upset. And sometimes I raise my voice more than I probably should. And sometimes I have trouble with being patient. Did that have to do with being a Jehovah's Witness? Probably. It probably had a lot to do with expecting little kids to not be little kids, but instead to be tiny little adults. Because even the organization expects them to be tiny little adults, when you think about it. Because, they want an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, whatever, to make a decision that's going to affect them the rest of their lives, and to get baptized, and to go out and talk to strangers at the door as a little kid, to make this decision that if they, as an adult or even a teen, go, this really doesn't make sense. I don't think I agree with this. This scripture doesn't line up with this scripture. This Watchtower article that I read doesn't make sense when you read it in this context. This story in the Bible, how can this be a real thing? This has got to be an allegory. This can't be literal. And they change their mind. Now they're shunned for the rest of their life because it's something they decided as a little kid to do. Like, when you're 8 and 10 years old, you're supposed to be playing games and stuff and, not going out and knocking on doors and trying to make other Jehovah's Witnesses. Come on. It doesn't make any sense. If you try and get into a legal contract, it's not even binding as a kid. You have to be of a certain age in order to qualify for it to stick. So why should you have your whole life ruined for something that you were convinced to do as a kid? It is wrong. It just makes me mad. I know I've talked about shunning in the past, obviously. I'm sure I probably have a couple of videos regarding that, but this organization ruins lives. It screws people up in their head, emotionally. It changes who you are. Like, you can't even be your authentic self because you're supposed to chuck all that out and put on the new personality. How can you have a new personality when you don't get a chance to have, you're born into it, so you don't get a chance to figure out what your personality is to begin with? I'm still trying to figure out who I am. If I could have done or had this mindset 25 years ago, 30 years ago, life could have been a lot different. I wouldn't be struggling now, having to, work so hard to make a living. I could have went to school. Okay, everybody has certain things they want to do. Like, when I grow up, I want to do this, I want to be a fireman, or I want to be an astronaut, or whatever. Well, I wanted to be an animator. So maybe I would have done that, but kind of the fallback thing I was thinking I might do is be an architect. But that would have taken schooling. I would have had to get a bachelor's degree at least to do it effectively. But you're not supposed to go get that education. No, you need to go out in service. You need to put your all into God's organization. It's all a bunch of crap. So, would I be cleaning toilets now? My back is killing me right now. I've just took a couple of Tylenol and an Advil to kind of, deal with that. It hurts. But you know what? I got to keep going. I got to keep working. Things could have been different. So think about this, Jehovah's Witness parents. How are you affecting your kids by expecting them to be little obedient automatons and trying to convince them that, it's the truth? So and how can you, living in the time that we live in, and if you've been in the truth for a long time, 20 years, 30 years, how can you not see that things don't make sense? This is something I want to ask my mom. I know she's not going to see this because obviously we don't communicate. I don't know that she's aware that I'm an apostate. I'm sure she'd love that one. My mom was baptized in 1973. She was 6 months pregnant with me when she was baptized. She lived through the 1975 end of the world scenario. Didn't happen. So if through some miracle my mom was to actually see this, hey Ma, how did you not understand? How did you read those articles? Possibly hear those talks, depending on where, certain talks were given at assemblies and conventions. How did you get through 1975 and then 1976 and go, oh, well, it's still the truth? I don't get it. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'd like to think that had I been an adult at that time, I would have been like, no, this doesn't make sense. They're wrong. They lied. They made it up. Maybe they're not directed through the Spirit. Maybe they're just some men. So, if my tone is a little off this time, I'm mad. I am mad at all the people who have had to deal with crap like this. I'm mad at all the people who are being shunned, that don't have the support that they should have. You should be able to have the connection with your family that everybody else has. Whatever happened that got you out of the organization, whether you decided this is stupid and I'm out, I can't do this anymore, or whoops, I guess I shouldn't have smoked that cigarette, or I shouldn't, whatever. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why you're out. You should be able to communicate with your family, and they should be the one to decide whether they want to deal with you or not. Not a bunch of men in New York. I seriously dislike the organization, if you can't tell. The people themselves, I don't have a problem with the people. The rules, the people who make the rules, screw you. Screw you for doing this to people, for enabling this to happen, for causing all this to happen to innocent people. Somebody makes a mistake, it should not cost you all your relationships at the time. Doesn't make any sense. If you commit a serious crime, you watch a news report, somebody's on trial for whatever. Usually, their parents are there, their family is there. You know why? Because they're family. That's up to them to support that person or not. It is not up to to 8 old dudes in upstate New York. So, I hope that society changes soon. That there's more and more reports of what's going on in that organization. That more people are aware of what's happening. It's not going to happen overnight. But time is running out for their stupid doctrine of the generations. So unless they come up with something truly ridiculous that's supposed to replace that, how long is that going to go on? Too long, I think. But if I live to be in my, I'm in my late 40s now. If I live to be in my 70s or 80s, I think I'm going to open up a bottle of wine and toast to the passing of that stupid doctrine about generations, the overlapping generations. As I watch, hopefully, the organization just shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink until it's nothing left. And who knows? Maybe my mom will still be around. She'd be really, really old. My grandma, her mom, is in her 90s, so it's possible. So, Mom, if you're still around at that time, I love you, but I told you so. I told you a bunch of things in a letter. I know you read it. You didn't respond, but I know you read it. And I told you so. And I'm sorry that you wasted so many years that we could have had a relationship for that organization. Anyway, I guess it was a rant day. I just needed to do it. I hope that you're doing okay. I feel a little better now that I got to talk into the ether and talk to you, the viewer. So please like and share and subscribe, and have a better day. I'm going to have a better day now. Back to work. Catch you next time.